Well, hello and welcome to the YANDLES podcast. This is going to be primarily video to begin with, but we may well go to audio only later on. We'll see how it goes. This is our first episode, and the intent is to do this monthly, and we will have a guest on each time. Some of them will, like today, will be demonstrators that we're going to have later on in the month, and other times it might be staff members. We might talk a bit more about the history of YANDLES and a few other things of interest to you all. So if you have ideas, please let us know. For updates on the release of episodes, please follow on our site. We will also have links and things on that on the screen. That will be, on Instagram and on Facebook, and probably announcements on our website as well. So today's guest is Mark Beckett, otherwise known as the Gentleman Woodturner, and Mark's come and demonstrated for us a few times. He's recently moved, so he's slightly more local now, so we do see him a little bit more often when it comes to various bits of timber he may or may not need for specialist projects. So Mark, welcome. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me. Pleasure to be here.
So first question then, Mark, really is, how did you get into wood turning? What drew you to it?
Well, back in 2018, I went through a bout of illness, and I was actually in hospital for almost the entire year. And I was quite seriously ill with sepsis. And when I came out of hospital, part of the recovery process and the rehabilitation that I had to go through, it was suggested that I find a hobby. And as most people do nowadays, I turned to YouTube, and the first sort of wood turning video I ever saw was by Mike Walt. And I sort of was looking at it with a sense of being analytical. And I thought, well, standing at a lathe is going to build strength in my legs, because at that time I could barely walk. It's going to use strength in my arms. It's going to give me hand-eye coordination. It's going to give me a problem-solving task. So how do I hold the wood? How do I turn this log into something pretty? And then it would give me a start, a middle, and an end. And it was purely started as rehabilitation. That's all. So it just ticked all the boxes. I'd never done it before. Never done sort of any wood turning at all before.
Okay, so did you go and have a lesson with anyone after that to sort of check to see if you were interested, or did you just go all in and buy all the kit?
No, very, very fortunately, I was it Facebook Marketplace? A lathe came up on Facebook Marketplace, and it was for sale, secondhand. It was 7 miles away from where I was living, and I just went and bought it. It was a small hobby lathe, and brought it home, watched loads of YouTube videos, bought some tools, and just self-taught to begin with. YouTube was my friend. So, and that's basically, I don't think I had my first actual hands-on lesson with anybody for about 18 months after I started.
Okay, that's not a bad way to go. Some people go the lesson. Myself, it's tended to be the cautious approach. I want to make sure first, even though I had a lathe. After your first catch, I stepped away and went and had lessons.
Yes. Yeah.
So
I mean, obviously as a professional wood turner now, I would advocate anybody before they even buy a lathe is to go to a local club, not necessarily join the club, but go to a club, see if you like it, get some hands-on experience with other turners, get lessons, do a course with the local centres like yourselves, get professional tuition, and then go from there. I did it the wrong way round, basically, but it didn't kill me, so I lived.
Yeah, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger.
That's what they say.
Absolutely. And I mean, obviously you've done well. Like you've said, that is definitely a way to go. Is if people are thinking, well, where would I find a club? Then the AWGB, the Association of Woodturners of Great Britain, has lists on their website. And Mark himself is associated with the AWGB slightly. Would that be fair to say?
Yes, I used to be on the executive committee and I was a trustee of the charity. Now I've stepped back from that role and I'm an assessor for tutors in the UK. So I go around to clubs or um, events where three, four, five people want to gain their tutor accreditation. They get their tutor's badge, and I assess them in that process. So I still do that for the AWGB. And I'm a great promoter of the AWGB. They are a fantastic organization for turners. They provide free training, free workshops, free advice. You can do wood turning certificates, you can do your tutors badging, you can do demonstrating badges with them. And they're a great organization for helping turners. And it's all free.
Yeah. Yeah, so we're a corporate member of them here at Yandles. So yeah, they've been very good throughout the country. But so obviously working that out, then you've been turning for about 6 years if you started 2018, unless my maths is terrible.
Well, it's actually slightly less. It was because I was in hospital 2018. I came out of hospital in the December and I started turning in March 2019.
Mm, mm,
So it's really only just over 5 years.
yeah, but I'd imagine the difference there is though that rather than it being 5 years of a couple of hours in an evening on a week, you've sort of went really into it. You had the certainly over lockdown had the opportunity, if I remember rightly, to sort of spend all day at the lathe and
Yes,
yeah,
COVID was the best thing ever happened to me because there was nothing to do, nowhere to go, nobody to see. Um, Companies like Yandles were selling wood online, and I was able to sit in my workshop and buy all the things I needed to do. I used to get bags of timber blanks delivered, and I would literally stay in my workshop 12 to 14 hours a day, 6 or 7 days a week, just turning, not necessarily even making anything, just making shavings, learning the cuts, learning how the tools worked, um, basically learning my trade. So
yeah,
I've done thousands of hours of turning in a very short time.
yeah, yeah, and that comes through in the demonstrations and things that you've done for us, and the conversations obviously you have with people, and we always get a good reception when you come and demonstrate for us. So we're very grateful for that. Um, so how has this led then? You mentioned earlier about your professional life. So can you clarify for people? A lot of woodturners, even our demonstrators, do that part time. Is this something you do part time?
No, I'm full time. I'm full time professional wood turner. So I turn um, artistic pieces that I sell in my shop and supply other shops and online. I turn um, for furniture companies, joiners, fitters, architects, builders. So that's the run of the mill um, stair spindles, newel posts, columns. Um, for kitchen companies, I turn cabinet knobs. I turn for design houses, bespoke items that they use in shop displays and things like that. And then I'll also, um, I have regular clients that have specific items for their business that I turn for them. But I also teach wood turning in my center and in other, I go to other places and workshops and I teach there. And I also demonstrate all over the country, both in the interactive remote demonstrations from my workshop using a broadcast system to clubs all over the world. But I also travel all over the country demonstrating at other wood turning clubs. And that all builds to uh, my income.
So it's that dream of many, isn't it, to be self-employed, so you're your own boss, but then you end up working twice as hard for the same amount of money, or if not less.
You do, yes. When I go on holiday for a week, not only does it cost me the same amount of money as anybody else would pay for the holiday, it also costs me the same again in lost revenue because I'm not at home working.
Yeah.
So my holidays cost me twice as much as everybody else. And everybody out there who's self-employed understands that completely.
But would you change it to go back to the 9 till 5?
No, no, no. I like being the master of my own destiny, if you like. The decisions I make, I stand or fall on the decisions I make. So if I make a mistake, there's nobody else to blame but myself. And if I get it right, there's nobody else to praise but myself. Except all those around me who've helped.
Yeah, yeah, no, absolutely. Okay, so other than wood turning, then, are there any other hobbies that you currently have, or things you used to do that you wish you had time to get back to?
I used to be very heavily involved in archery at a world level. In 2005, I won the silver medal at the World Championships, which were held in South Africa. And I'd been doing archery since I was 6, and I'd been competing both nationally and internationally since I was 15. And I'd got to a very, very high level. I'd won national awards, gold medals, silver medals, bronze medals, European medals, and world medals. I don't have time for it now because it was pretty much all encompassing. Training 3 or 4 nights a week, competitions every weekend, traveling all over the world, sponsors to keep happy, and that sort of thing. The problem is I'm very competitive, and I couldn't go back to doing archery just for fun because
Yeah,
my psyche wouldn't allow me to do. I would have to be competitive, and I couldn't be now because of the illness in 2018. I've got some nerve damage in my left shoulder, and I wouldn't be able to shoot uh, as I would want to. So I wouldn't be able to compete at the level that I feel I would need to be at. So now
yeah,
I don't actually have any hobbies now. Um, Wood turning is probably taken over from the archery. It's all encompassing. If I'm not doing wood turning, I'm thinking about wood turning or watching wood turning or teaching wood turning. So no, I used to do archery, but don't anymore.
oh, okay. That's it's still very fascinating though. And what type of bow was it? Longbow, or was it all sorts?
I used to shoot the Olympic style bow, so the freestyle with the recurve with all the
Right.
stabilizers and the sights. Um, I did shoot compound bow, but I wasn't as competitive with the compound as I was with the Olympic recurve.
Okay. I had to ask because I knew someone would want to find out in the comments or something otherwise.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going to see you at the end of this month, and do you remember what it is you're going to demo for us?
Yes, I'm going to be doing the one of my spiral stem goblets, where I turn a classically shaped cup on the goblet, and then the stem we put a triple. I won't do a quadruple because that's showing off, but I'll do a triple twist on the stem, and I lay the twists in by hand with a series of files, and I show how we lay out the setting up of the twists and the angles that we lay the twists in with, where they start and finish, and then how we produce them to be nice and smooth. And yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
And are you using a slightly different technique for the laying out? I know in the past you've mentioned this to me that there's a technique that many people have used that takes quite a long time to draw out on the piece. And then I believe was it Stuart Mortimer that you learnt a different technique from?
Yeah, I was very fortunate a couple of years ago to spend a week with Stuart Mortimer, um, and we did quite an intensive week of training. And the spiral stem goblet was one of the things he showed me because Stuart is world renowned for his
Mm,
spiraling work. And he made it a lot easier than the very complicated system of grids and measuring and drawing on with a pencil and connecting all the lines. It's very simple, and I'll be explaining all of that in the demonstration itself. So if you want to find out how I do it, come along on the evening and you'll see. But it's a lot easier than it sounds.
I was going to say, yeah, so because I know some people in the past have said, "Oh, I've seen that before," but in this particular method, it, as you say, Mark, obviously is clearly a lot less setup to get the same result. So it'd be if you think you've seen it before, it's worth coming along and just seeing the difference. So before we talk about the actual event, other than obviously you're turning the spiral stem goblet, two questions: what's your favourite thing to turn?
Right. Up until about 6 months ago, anybody who asked me what kind of turner I'd call myself, predominantly I'd always say that I was a bowl turner. I love turning bowls. I find them a beautiful thing to look at, and they're useful. But I've started recently to drift more into hollow forms, and I'm really experimenting and exploring the shapes and forms of hollow forms, hollowing out, and especially when the wood has voids, and take an ugly piece of wood and take all the wood out from the inside, and you're left with holes that are there naturally, not holes you've put in yourself. So I still love the bowls. I would still probably call myself a bowl turner first and foremost, but I'm really starting to get into um, the media of hollow forms. Yeah,
It is amazing, isn't it? How as wood turners we kind of you'll think that this is the way you're going to go now for the rest of the time, and then something will just happen. Maybe you'll get a commission, or you'll just see a piece of wood in a different way, and you'll try something different, and then you're down that rabbit hole. You're
yeah,
drifting off. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. I've always claimed that I'm not an artistic wood turner, and recently I've had a couple of ideas that I might need to start experimenting with, and
yeah.
there's a possibility. We'll wait and
And
see.
away you go.
Yeah, yeah,
It's
absolutely.
it's that
So,
kind of, oh look, a squirrel.
yeah, exactly. So,
And I've
second
I've
question
been doing
then.
that, with the hollow forms. Um,
Hmm,
I've always had the hollowing equipment. I just didn't take advantage of it as much as I should have done. And now I am, and I'm enjoying it.
that's good. That's good. So, second question then would be, what would be your favourite finishes? And this is a very broad subject, but let's say top three. So you've got a couple of options
Um,
there.
Top three, right. Uh, I'm well known for being a Hampshire Sheen brand ambassador. So there is going to be a Hampshire Sheen product in there, which is um, the high gloss finishing wax that Martin developed. I think it's a fantastic product purely because it does exactly what it says it's going to do. You apply it, it leaves a high gloss, hard wearing finish. Um, Chestnut products, I love their lemon oil. That the lemon oil, I use that a lot for a lot of natural finishes where I want a satin or matte finish. Purely, it smells fantastic when you're using it. It gives a good, solid performance on the finish. It's easy to apply. Uh, Third one, oh, it's probably a Danish oil by any of the manufacturers. Pretty much all Danish oil is the same, no matter who you buy it from. It's a good product. It leaves a lovely finish. Very, very good for, especially if it's a food safe Danish oil, which most are, not all, but most. So it leaves a lovely finish, and especially on a bowl. And then you can use that bowl then for serving food from, or eating your crisps and your peanuts in. And again, easy to apply. You can make it as hard or as easy as you want. The old adage of once a day for a week, apply the oil, and then once a week for a month, and then once a month for a year. If you want to do that, and be that technical, you can. Or you can just apply a couple of coats and leave it and be done with it, and let it sit on the sideboard and give it a dust every now and then, and maybe re-oil it once or twice a year, once every couple of years. It's up to you. So I think my three favourites are probably high gloss wax, lemon oil, and Danish oils.
So a good broad range there. So obviously having a wax and a couple of oils, and I know lemon oil is favoured by people working with wet wood a lot, isn't it, as well?
Yes,
Because
it
it
goes
doesn't
on easy.
necessarily pull the it goes on easy and doesn't pull the tannins out if you've got
No,
necessarily tannins and things. But a very important point that you mentioned there as well about the food safe. So the Hampshire Sheen High Gloss is food and toy safe rated. And as you said as well, some of the Danish oils are food and toy safe rated. The important thing is if you were going to make things to sell is that if you're buying a product and you're going to put it on something for food or for toys, make sure it's they've paid the money to have the food and toy safe rating, because if
yes.
there's any feedback, you can produce the tin of the product that you've used and you're covered in that. So
And the rule of
um,
thumb is if it doesn't say food and toy safe on the tin, it's not. They can say
yeah,
it is all they like. If it's not on the tin, and they don't have the
yeah,
certificate, even if it's literally water and beeswax, if those are the
yeah.
only two products in it, unless they've had it tested, it's not food safe. You can't say it's food safe.
Yeah, it's the legal definition, and
Yes.
that's the important thing. Okay, so Mark, I think we're pretty close to wrapping up then. And what's currently on the lathe?
Currently on the lathe is I did a live yesterday with another wood turner, and after we'd finished texturing and colouring the hollow form, we were playing around with an oak spindle. Yeah, and we've turned it to a vase shape, and we're playing with different texturing wheels on grinders. So the different, like the EP.1, the Arbitec, the Proxon, Sabertooth, and the Kutzall burrs, we were using different cutters at different speeds on the lathe. So that's currently on the lathe, having a going down there this afternoon to sort of jazz it up a bit, because it's got a lot of different levels of texture, so that we can see those do. So playing around a bit more experimenting.
Never stop learning. Wood turning always gives back.
Oh, that's true. That's true.
Okay, well, if any of you want to come along to the demo, which I strongly suggest you do, then Mark is going to be with us here at Yandles in Somerset, and it is an in-store only demo. We don't do remote demonstrations or a live feed. You've got to physically come along and enjoy the demo down here. It's on the 26th of April. It's between 4 p.m. and 6 p.m. and the shop will stay open later. And we've normally got some special deals and offers as well during that time. So thank you very much for coming, Mark.
You're
Appreciate it.
most welcome.
And I'm sure we'll see you, many of you, at the event on that date on the 26th of April. And until next time, when we'll have a different guest and a different topic. Good to chat to you soon. Bye.